Oh, Rudy Giuliani's in trouble again, not in one federal court, but two different judges looking to sanction him for contempt and concerning a $150 million judgment that's already rendered against him in favor of Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, those defamed, horribly doxxed Fulton County election workers. And now we've got both Judge Lyman on one side in New York, Judge Beryl Howell in Washington, D.C., taking turns whacking Rudy Giuliani like a giant piñata. And nobody feels sorry for him because he's brought it on himself. Let me do Beryl Howell first, because that one in D.C. is interesting because she just took Rudy Giuliani to task because he couldn't even figure out a way to file his own paper. Now, Rudy in the District of Columbia has been called into court and called on the carpet for a December 12th hearing in front of Beryl Howell, the judge who presided over the actual jury trial that resulted in the $150 million judgment, because according to the lawyers on the other side, which are the same lawyers in both the cases I'm going to talk about, lawyers for a firm named Wilkie, Farr, and Gallagher representing Freeman and Moss, Rudy Giuliani is in violation of an agreement he signed with the court not to continue to defame Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss after the trial was over. Rudy Giuliani keeps doing it. On November 12th, on November 14th, during his podcast, I don't know what it's called, the mayor's podcast or something, he said the exact same thing, that they committed voter fraud in favor of Joe Biden. They've been exonerated of those allegations. They were false when made. They're false now. And he signed an agreement that says to avoid further litigation, he would agree never to do it again. It's a simple ask. It's a simple commitment. But Rudy can't seem to continue to make it. And so the judge, having gotten the evidence, the clips from the podcast made by Rudy Giuliani, called a hearing for the 12th of December. Okay? And Rudy had time, he had to file a paper by the 4th of December about, his position. Well, I guess he needed more time. Plus, for some reason, he has no lawyer in the Washington case, and he has a new nutty lawyer in the New York case. So he's representing himself in D.C., what we call pro se, which is by himself. I mean, he once did have 2 bar licenses. He once was the U.S. attorney for Manhattan. So, I mean, he should know his way around a federal courtroom. But according to Judge Beryl Howell, she's embarrassed for him. She said she found the filing that he made without his signature on it, a letter asking for more time, completely irregular, completely out of bounds, that even a first-year lawyer would know how to do. So she said, even though you're pro se, and I usually give you the benefit of the doubt, you are Rudy Giuliani. You did serve as a federal prosecutor at one time, but you can't figure out how to file a simple paper. So I'm going to deny your filing without prejudice, meaning get your act together, get your shit together, and file it again. Now, he's not going to be able to get out from under this. I've listened to the podcast. He defamed Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. He said they were passing a thumb drive back and forth between each other, that they were using to flip votes from Trump to Biden. It's a lie. It was a breath mint. I'm not saying it was like a breath mint. I'm saying it was a breath mint. And that was proven by a proper review of the video, by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, by the Georgia Secretary of State's office, and everybody else that's looked at it. He's cooked. He's going to be found in contempt. The question is, what book is she going to throw at him? He's got no more money left, or at least he continues to hide his assets. He's hiding millions of dollars of other assets from Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, which I'll turn to in a minute in New York, because this all happened within days of each other. So he's cooked on the 12th of December. She may throw him in jail, for all I know, for contempt. So that's the Rudy Giuliani in Georgia. But I don't want you to confuse it with Rudy Giuliani contempt problem in New York, almost overlapping. On 15th of January, so 12th of December in D.C., and a month later in New York, he's got to appear in front of the judge concerning whether his Florida condominium is or is not an asset that needs to be turned over to satisfy the judgment or not. There's some protection in Florida if he filed his request for homestead protection, a unique Florida law. This is why deadbeats go to Florida and buy houses. It protects them. If he filed for homestead protection and established residency before the 8th of August, 2024, right, then he's got homestead protection potentially for that condo in Florida near Mar-a-Lago. But if he didn't, he doesn't. And so there's a lot of evidence that he wasn't a resident in Florida. He was trying to establish it in New Hampshire at the same time. But the main problem in New York is he hasn't turned over a document. And there's a deposition coming up on the 15th of December in advance of the hearing on the 4th of January, before a hearing on the 15th of January. And Rudy Giuliani's in contempt of court because he's failed to produce zero amount of documents as required and requested. He's on his third lawyer. The new lawyer doesn't know what he's doing either in federal court, a guy named Joe Camerata. So he's got a lawyer there, not a lawyer here, 2 contempts, a month apart. What's going to happen? I think both of them are going to be hard-pressed to figure out how to sanction him. Now, what the lawyers, the same lawyers for Ruby Freeman and Shane Moss, want in New York is that, all right, enough is enough. He hasn't produced any documents. Make the assumption, Judge, that there are no good documents to support him and an adverse inference should be raised against him. In other words, if he had a document that helped him prove his Florida residency, he would have already given it to you. So he hasn't. So assume that he doesn't have them. And let's get right to turnover of the Palm Beach condo worth about $3 or $4 million to help pay off Ruby Freeman and Shane Moss. I mean, they got a $150 million condo, and no amount of Yankee rings or condos, even the New York condo that they got their hands on, or this 1980s old beaten jalopy of a Mercedes, is going to pay down the $150. If they're able to collect $5 or $8 million, I'd be surprised, but it's their $5 or $8 million. And so they deserve it. The lawyers are working for free for them. They deserve it. 2 contempt hearings, a month apart. 2 different judges struggling with how to sanction Rudy Giuliani, not whether to sanction Rudy Giuliani. And we'll cover it all here. You're already here for it. Go outside, hit that blue subscribe button and help us continue to build this pro-democracy channel. Legal AF, the channel. Every Tuesday, I'm doing a new show on the Midas Touch Network called Popok Live, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, at the intersection of law and politics on Midas Touch Network. On Tuesdays, we have a podcast called Legal AF, of course, Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the YouTube channel for Midas Touch, and then podcast platforms of your choice. And now you're here at the intersection of law and politics. We created this channel right before the election to be here for all those lawsuits inevitably that are going to be filed as Donald Trump lurches the country from constitutional crisis to constitutional crisis as soon as he starts his presidency. So in the meantime, I'm glad you're here helping us build this network and channel with you. I'm Michael Popok, and I am reporting. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.